Well, good day, YouTube. Welcome back to Retired for Life. I'm your host, Brian, and we're heading out to the shop to do a little bit of work. So on the agenda for today, we're going to do some maintenance work on the pellet stove. I need to replace a seal on the front door there of that. Then we're going to finish winterizing the sawmill. That's going to be pretty much shut down now. And we've got to get back to work to finish up that step for the lower entranceway. Things are getting icy and slippery. I want to get that done. So let's get in there and get to work. So my plan today was to get out and run the sawmill, but it's pretty crappy out there. So I think what I'm going to do is kind of distract myself for a little bit, and I'm replacing the gasket here on my wood pellet stove. For as long as we have been here, we've been using a wood pellet stove, and this has really worked very well. I mean, they have their drawbacks. The wood pellet stoves do not put out a huge amount of heat very quickly like your regular wood stove will. You can pack the lumber into a wood stove and really get it going, where a pellet stove, not so much the case. But it has its advantages too. One, there's no bark. Everything comes in bags, so the whole thing is very clean to deal with. The other is because there's no bark, I only have to clean my chimney once a year, and that's it. And once it's going, I mean, it does a pretty good job. Our house has got those big facing south windows upstairs, so it's partially heated by passive solar with those. And then this little pellet stove downstairs gets going and does everything. So it's really does a very nice job. It's very economical, and as I say, very clean. So we're going to get this cleaned up, get the new seal in, and then we'll see what it's like. Well, folks, I was talking about running the sawmill today, but the day has been miserable all day. Now that it's getting dark out, it's actually clearing up. So I am just finishing up getting things winterized. So one of the things I do is drain the carburetor out so there's no fuel left sitting in the carburetor. And I had the spark plug out and put just a couple of drops of oil down in the cylinder, worked that a couple of times, spark plug back in. Now that the gas is out, so the only thing left to do at this point is to put the tarp on, so we'll get that done. Okay, folks, I'm quite pleased with how the step worked. It's going to make a really big difference, but there's just a couple of things that I want to change to it. I don't feel like it's actually deep enough. Now, it is 9 inches, and a lot of the steps I've seen, that's where they measure out. But because it's stepping inside from outside, I think I want to make it a little wider. So I'm going to add at least 2 inches, maybe even 3 inches to it, and see how that feels. And the other change I'm going to make is I want to raise it an inch higher, because it doesn't feel like the stepping down from the outside onto this step is really quite halfway. So I want to make it a little higher. I know I'm being fussy, but what the heck? I've got the wood and I've got the time, so I might as well fool with it. We are getting some snow. They are talking about this turning into a storm. Right now it's coming down pretty gentle. All the turkeys are overfeeding. I was late getting out this morning. They weren't very happy with me. Okay, folks, so here's our step. We're going to take it apart, make a couple of changes to improve it. Now, in my last video about this, I had asked for suggestions, and I got a couple, and a couple of really good ones too that I'm going to try to incorporate. B. Hall suggested a handrail. Now, it is just one step, but you're coming in from outside and that kind of thing. And my knees aren't the greatest, and neither are Sarah's. So I think a handrail on the side is a good idea. I just have to figure out how to incorporate that, just so you've got something to grab onto so you don't end up on the floor. The other idea that I got that I thought was really good came from Paul from Gelling Outdoors, and he suggests putting a non-slip coating on the top of it, and that's a really good idea. I will be doing that. Now, Paul has got lots of good ideas. He's got a lot more experience with construction, working with wood, that type of thing than I have, so I've gotten a number of really good suggestions for Paul. He has a great YouTube channel. I'm going to put a link to his channel in the description, so go and have a look at that. I'm sure you'll be impressed with the knowledge that Paul has got and his willingness to share it. I really appreciate that. Okay, folks, I think I've got figured out what I'm going to do. So this piece went into the step here, and it's already a really nice fit. So I want to raise the top of this step by 1 1/8 inches. So what I'm going to do is actually cut 1 1/8 inches piece, clean it up on the planer, and just laminate it to this piece, some glue and a couple of screws, and that should be easy enough. And I don't need to try to get the perfect fit on this again, because I already have that. And then I am going to cut another piece to laminate onto the back of this to add 3 inches to make it that much wider. And I will glue and screw that into place as well. All right, folks, we got all our pieces machined up and ready to go. So what I did was I put a chamfer on the inside here. This is the mating piece. What I don't want to have happen is bits and pieces from the hole and whatnot coming up, getting in the way and preventing a nice full contact on this surface. So that's why I put those chamfers there. So we're going to line this up, glue it, line it up, and clamp it. And then I'm going to put my screws in. All right, that feels pretty good. Okay, so there is my step. Now that step is 8 3/4 of an inch wide, which is pretty close to what you'd find as a standard step. I'm adding a 3-inch piece to it, right there. So I'm going to drill down about a 1/2 inch or so into here, and then use 4-inch screws going into it, and it's also going to be glued as well. So most of its strength will actually come from laminating, gluing it up. But my glue is not in very good shape, and because this is going to be load bearing, I do want it to be fitting here properly. So I'm going to have to get some more glue. And once that's together and I'm satisfied with the height and width of everything and that kind of thing, then I will finalize my plan for getting a handrail on. Now it is just one step, so it is only a very short amount of handrail, but I do really like the idea of the handrail being there just for that extra support. Having that there just in case, I think is a good idea, and we'll figure it out. All right, so that's going to be it for today's video, folks. And if you've been finding these videos interesting, please don't forget to give it a like. And I'd love to have you subscribe to the channel. That would really help, and it won't cost you anything to do it. So thanks again, folks. Remember to stay safe out there, and we'll see you out on the trails the next time.